I heard they want the news. Well, we got it just for you. What's your team? Who your player? Who your crew? I heard they want the news. The spotlight is on you, and if you in the hot seat, it's times two. I heard they want the news. Yeah, come tune in to the crew, but we got the hook up just like black and blue. I heard they want the news. Spotlight Sports, what it do? Hit subscribe and that like button too. I heard they want the news.
Live from Las Vegas, the Snake Sports Talk Show with Jake Silva starts right now.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, what a day it is on a Friday. This is the Snake Sports Talk Show, wherever and however you may be watching and listening to me today. We are live on all social media platforms, all the way from iHeartRadio, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch. Is where you can like, follow, and subscribe to all social media platforms, and to be subscribing to all of the channels here on the Spotlight Sports Network, and including yours truly, the Snake Sports Talk Show. Boy, I've got a stacked episode here today for all of you guys. Tay-Rock from Tay-Rock Talking Sports is going to be joining me here. We're going to be talking a lot about 49ers, Jimmy Garoppolo, and Trey Lance situation, so you don't want to end up missing that here coming up. And a little bit of my favorite from here, it will be the Wentz in, Wentz out at the bottom of the hour. That's where we start talking a little bit about some destinations regarding Carson Wentz. Other than that, we got a stacked show today, but we had a lot to talk about. So many rumors buzzing all around. So I'm going to kick it off with this. But we've had a lot of news surrounding one particular player, and that's Russell Wilson. And obviously with what the future is for the Seattle Seahawks and for Russ in general. You saw already from what last season and the season before ended up giving us. Russell Wilson could not possibly carry the Seattle Seahawks all on his own, and it clearly shows. Now, I have my reasons to believe that when it came to Russell Wilson, there's going to be rumors and everything sparking up everywhere. Is this going to be his last year in Seattle? Let me tell you something about Russell Wilson. This last 2 years, the Seahawks were in the playoffs and they had such a great record. But then in the end, they started falling apart against the Rams. Russ was sacked 6 times, and there was no support whatsoever in the end. Then here comes this upcoming year. They upgraded the offensive line, or at least they thought they ended up making some great moves, and they fell completely short. The Arizona Cardinals started winning more games. Kyler Murray was at his best. Then the Rams acquired Matthew Stafford, and the Rams go on to win a Super Bowl. And then there's San Francisco, who thought everybody was going to turn their backs away from Kyle Shanahan, and they make it into the playoffs. You almost think it's lightning in a bottle. No, this was a healthier situation for the 49ers. And here is Seattle with Pete Carroll. Everybody's getting hurt. Barely has a pass rush. The defense was not the greatest. And Russell has a lot of problems, has a lot of issues. I could tell you one thing. And right now, from what I'm being told, that the Seahawks already confirmed that they know that they're not going to end up trading Russell Wilson. Not this year. So what's going to happen is that Russ is going to play out his final year in Seattle before he has to make a decision whether or not he wants a long-term or he wants to move his future elsewhere. I was one of those people that speculated when it came to Russ, he's not going to be a Seahawk in 2022. But right now, my thoughts have changed. But there's a perfect prime reason why. And I could tell you one thing, and people, we go through this all the time. When there's certain levels of expectations, and Russell has exceeded all of them, when something does not go exactly as planned or exactly as what we thought could have been the case, sometimes you just need a change of scenery. Sometimes we all want something better. We all want to be able to protect our futures, have the best pay, and enjoying, our careers. We want to be in the best position possible, regardless of chaos, regardless of all the things that we know we deal with in everyday life. And Russell right now is in the position where it doesn't seem like Seattle is seriously considering all the possibilities. Because think about it. We didn't have this conversation years ago from 2012, 13, 14, and 15. Russ was at his prime years. I'm not saying he's completely out of his prime, but they did not build upon what Seattle was trademarking. Pete Carroll comes in. He's a brand new coach. The defense got better. The second Dan Quinn was the defensive coordinator, and you had the Legion of Boom. But everybody wanted to think the defense was the reason Seattle won Super Bowls and appeared in Super Bowls, and they ended up beating a lot of really, really good teams in the NFC. The 49ers, they beat so many teams in the NFC. But that was not the case. And they brushed away what the value of Russell Wilson really is. So people have been telling me that there's so many different rumor reports about several teams that could be interested. Right now, the hottest ones are the Washington Commanders, the Philadelphia Eagles, and possibly the New York Giants. And there are a couple of other teams that could be considerate to Russ. But I think in Russell Wilson's mind, because this is the last year of his contract, and I think he's going to play it out. He's going to play it out as much as possible, because I don't think, and knowing Russ behind closed doors, he's a really nice guy. Somebody that's invested. And I think he's going to play out his year, and he's going to do it the right way. But Seattle fans do understand and realize the time is ticking, and the time is coming up. And I know it's a hard situation to even think about, but that's going to be the reality for Seattle. So I have a perfect game plan. One thing I will tell you, I don't think Russ will go to Seattle or would go to Philadelphia. You're giving up that many first-round picks, and you're already starting to give up on Jalen Hurts after you just made the playoffs. You went 2-5 to begin the season, and all of a sudden they turn it around and they make the playoffs. Jalen Hurts looked really good. Devontae Smith looked really good. Miles Sanders at least ended up looking healthy, and the run game was really good. But we want to continuously, we just want to completely shadow out Jalen Hurts. What's going on, BL? What's going on, Coach Dante? What's going on, West Side Sports Radio? What is going on, Girio? Everybody all joining in. You know, it's really interesting how I think that Philadelphia, you really think Philadelphia, and knowing Howie Roseman, he's going to give up 4 first-round draft picks for Russell Wilson and then completely trade away Jalen Hurts. I think that's ridiculous. I think that's crazy talk. We all like crazy talk, but that's insane. Philadelphia would never be in the position to end up trading that many picks away. What's going on, Ryan Rowe? I don't think Philadelphia is really the spot, and I do not think, because they've already had quarterback dilemmas in the last couple of years. Carson Wentz, now you have Jalen Hurts, and you really want to sacrifice to go and getting Russell Wilson and completely shadow out Jalen Hurts, who just made the playoffs. Doesn't make any sense. What's going on, Key, in the building? So I was just like, I laughed because I don't think that is a reasonable and really like I just don't even think it's valid. I don't even think it's a great move at all. I don't think. My one thing is the Giants, from what I'm being told, they're going to stick with Daniel Jones. They're not going to end up going and getting, even though I think it's a nice thing to think about because, one, it's a big market in New York. You've got Brian Daboll as a head coach, offensive-minded, and he's a really good coordinator, worked around with Josh Allen. And I think it's a really, really good thought. But for this year, not exactly the timing. So my thought plan is for Seattle. You play out the rest of this season because the other thing they have to think about is DK Metcalf, the run game, pass rush, and secondaries, and the offensive line. That's what they really have to consider. And in this time frame, you better prepare yourselves because Russ is not going to stay there that long. And as far as the offensive line goes, it's not going to work for Russ. So the game plan I have it is give Russ one more year to finish out his contract, which I think is the right thing to do if you're Russell Wilson. Because in the end, he'll have his money's worth. And then by the time free agency comes around, it would be his one finale in Seattle, and then he can take his talents elsewhere. What's going on, Jay Taco? What's going on? And my thought is, and I'm not brushing this away, but sources are telling me that the Washington Commanders are very interested in Russ. And I'm not brushing away from that. If you're the Washington Commanders right now, you really are going to invest all of your money in Taylor Heineke or possibly even the next big thing at quarterback. My thought of that is, by next year, I think Washington would do anything to give Russ his money's worth. And they've got a pretty decent offensive line. They've got a real good defense that they could work around. The other part of it is that offensively, with all the weapons, I know that they got to fix up their tight end situation, and I think they have. Cam Sims, Terry McLaurin, Antonio Gibson, J.D. McKissick. I like the thought process with it, but the most important is Ron Rivera. Veteran head coach, very strong, knows how to put his boot down, and I think from what it looks like, I think this would be an ideal situation. Because at least he has a veteran head coach, knows what he's doing, and has the perfect game plan. Plus, it's also a refresher for the Commanders because you already know all the things that are leaking around. So, what's going on, Matt Lincoln? I'll get to that one here in a second. But I do think that when it comes to Seattle, because here's the part that's going to hurt. It's not going to hurt Russ. It's going to hurt Pete Carroll's chances of getting into the Hall of Fame. Because if you really got to think of what's going on in Pete Carroll's mind, he's thinking, I get rid of Russ, I got to get a big-time quarterback that's going to at least win some games. Because you're not winning that very easily in the NFC West. Not after the Rams won a Super Bowl and they got Matthew Stafford and they're very comfortable with their situation. Not while you got San Francisco, who have snuck themselves in and they got very, very healthy. The other part is that you got Arizona, which I know is really, really weird right now at the situation between Kyler Murray and the Cardinals. But other than that, they got better. They got much, much better. I still think they could be an even better team moving forward. But other than that, I don't think Pete Carroll's going to want to hurt his chances at the Hall of Fame. He already got fired before in the past. That's when he ended up going back to USC. So I think if you really want to play this right, Russ will play his last time in Seattle in his last year, and I think he's going to move on and probably end up taking the next contract elsewhere, if you really think about it. Matt Lincoln, the only thing I can say for the Raiders, if they really want to end up beating the Chiefs, because I'm not giving up on Derek Carr, and that's the other thing. Raider fans, do not even fantasize about Russell Wilson going to Las Vegas. I do not see that happening. And I wouldn't do that with Derek Carr. And I think he's going to be a Raider for life. That is the franchise. But I think what needs to happen, there's a few defensive pieces that have to be adjusted. And the other part is the offense, wide receivers, they got to have at least a healthy core and at least ones that are capable of outplaying that defense. It's the one thing I think about with the Raiders, but I'm not giving up on Derek Carr. All right, let me shift to something that I think is very interesting, and it's more in the NBA world, but I think we really have to come to terms with one specific scenario. Do you guys all remember the time that we were at the NBA draft, at least a few years ago? And right now, things are not set in stone in one particular place, and that is the New Orleans Pelicans. And what's been happening now already in these last couple seasons, it has not worked out well with Zion Williamson and the Pelicans organization. Right now, Zion has been getting hurt too much. He hasn't really shed off any weight. He's been gaining it, and he's become more injury prone. But I can make a few arguments about this. I remember the day when he ended up getting drafted by New Orleans. Now, I didn't particularly love the move, but what can you do when you're in a draft lottery? It's always a probables game. Any team in the NBA could have their shot at getting into the top 10, top 5. Any of them, if you play your cards right. And the funny thing of it is, Major League Baseball wants to, instead of doing a normal draft when teams tank, they want to end up doing a lottery draft just like the NBA. I don't think it would really work that well. The NBA does it. The NHL does it. Here's what's beautiful about the NFL is that even if you have a team that tanks, there is talent everywhere. Quarterback, wide receiver, defense, it's everywhere. Nobody in the NFL has an unreal chance of becoming a better team. It all comes from your ownership. It all comes from your general managing. It also comes from your coaching and your quarterback. Those are the only things. And if you can adjust that well, you'll be a much, much better team. My thought is this with Zion. I think he's a really good kid. And if you really want to be honest about New Orleans is not a basketball-driven city. If you really think about it. The top 3 things in New Orleans that you automatically know just from the culture what they're very big on. They are big on Mardi Gras. It's a hell of a party. Everybody loves it there. They love New Orleans Saints football because they've gotten a Super Bowl. Drew Brees was the reason that the culture shaped the way it was. And they're a team you can't really count out. And then there's LSU football and basketball. The whole program. Everybody loves LSU. Then there's a couple of wild cards that are here and there, like Louisiana Lafayette. Now we got the New Orleans Breakers for the USFL. So to me, it feels like the Pelicans are nowhere even close. And remember, we were here at the time when Anthony Davis got selected, when they were the New Orleans Hornets, become the Pelicans. They made the playoffs, but were not even a big time. They were not even an intimidating team. They were not that strong. Even when they had Drew Holiday, even when they had Lonzo Ball, Anthony Davis, Zion, all these players, they could not overcome their situation. New Orleans Pelicans is not. That's not exactly an organization that's really driven for success. And I've said this about certain NBA teams. It's no dig and no disregard, but most of these NBA teams that you see are not even built for championships. Like, if you're built for championships, you either are the Lakers, the Celtics, bits and pieces of me wants to say Utah, Denver, the Clippers are on the high rise, but even for them, they can't figure it out. There are several teams that can be championship teams, and then the rest of them that are more of like developmental teams. The New Orleans Pelicans at times, and I think Charlotte looks a lot better. The Charlotte Hornets, the Orlando Magic, even the Indiana Pacers at times, and I can't even figure them out. But all those teams there develop their players, and eventually they move on and they take longer-term contracts elsewhere. But if I'm Zion in New Orleans, it's time for a change of scenery. This has not worked. This hasn't worked. And here's what's funny about that. Because once he was drafted in New Orleans, Knicks fans were they were out of their mind. They never got the number one pick. They felt so bad because Zion was there at the tip of their fingers and they lost it by the lottery. And they ended up settling for RJ Barrett, his teammate at Duke. I think, to be totally honest, if you really thought of destinations for Zion, and this happens all the time for certain teams, if it doesn't work at most teams that are not championship driven, it's better to move on. It really is. This is not a dig for the organization, but there are a few destinations I think. I think Zion would thrive elsewhere, and he would end up being much, much better, I think, in his character, and I think at the same time, he'd be a guy that could be a threatening force. I mean, could you imagine Zion in Boston with Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown? Could you imagine Zion if he was on the Sixers, knowing you've got Joel Embiid? It's another big man. Or you see him in New York, which I think is very, very interesting. If you put him in New York with RJ Barrett, with Julius Randle, I think he'd be much, much better. Anywhere with here's another thing. Could you imagine Zion in Miami with Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo? People would be crazy about it. But I would tell you that just from all that we've seen, Zion's not happy. The family's not happy. The organization are kind of tied. I think if you really are New Orleans, I would honestly let Zion go. But I would get picks, because at the end of the day, when you look at it in your lives, when it comes to your career, where you land really, really, really does matter. You want to be in the best scenario possible, and you want to be by championship mentality driven people, because those are people that want to strive for something better. Those are people that you learn a lot better. And sometimes too, it shapes you from the inside out, makes you more motivated, makes you want to be better, makes you want to end up going and getting a championship, or maybe want to go and get the big promotion. Whatever the case may be, I don't think Zion would thrive in New Orleans. Oh yeah, Zion at Denver would be interesting. Could you imagine that with him and Nikola Jokic? What is to say Denver wouldn't lose their minds when they've got Jamal Murray, they've got Nikola Jokic, and they got Zion, and they become one of the most feared teams in the West. Like, people would pay big bucks for that. So, but I just think right now, with the way that things are shaping for New Orleans, I just don't think that this would have worked. And let's be honest. Y'all remember how Stephen A. Smith felt the next day when the Knicks ended up getting snubbed that number 1 overall pick? Well, you really ain't got to worry about it too much anymore. Coming up next. We have Tay-Rock from Tay-Rock Talking Sports covering a lot about the 49ers and the San Antonio Spurs. And we're going to be talking a lot about the Niners situation currently, Jimmy G and Trey Lance and what that's building up to. And also down the road, we'll be discussing a little more on the Steelers right now, because do we really think that Mason Rudolph is the answer for the Pittsburgh Steelers? I can honestly say I think it's a laughing fest. But I think Pittsburgh's a much better organization than that. And I will explain a lot why I think that's a bad decision to just go with Mason Rudolph. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I have been talking about this app now for months and months on end, and I am so happy to tell you guys there is more things happening with this app in particular, because unlike any that you've ever seen from, FanDuel, DraftKings, and etc., I'm happy to tell you that Super Draft Pro is the proud partner of Caesars Entertainment. And the best part about Super Draft Pro is that it's not only just your daily fantasy lineups that you can go and set up, play against some of your friends, coworkers, and more, but we've also now introduced player prop bets. You can now end up betting from virtual coins that could give you millions upon millions of different prizes every day of every week. Player props, whether they're going to be better or worse than the projected point statures, and it loads up every single day. Plus, you also can be betting on the sports book, great sports book predictions. There's so much more that you can do here on the Super Draft Pro app and the Super Draft Pro sports book. Oh man, it's going to be awesome. I'm going to be touching upon that there later, Matthew. But it's such a great thing. I'm so excited about it, and I would love and encourage every one of you guys. It is available now on the Google Play and the App Store, Super Draft Pro and the Sportsbook app. Download, play like a pro, share like a pro, win prizes and cash like a pro when you use Super Draft Pro. And go online and sign up and tell them Jake the Snake sent you. SuperDraftPro.com. That is SuperDraftPro.com.
Bitch, I'm a ball, bitch, I'm a ball. Don't get no ball, don't get no ball. What's in my cup? What's in my cup? Full of that punch, look at that punch. Bitch, I'm a ball, ballin' like Kobe. Ho, keep it moving, cause you do not know me. Bitch, I'm a ball, ballin' like Kobe. Ho, keep it moving, cause you do not know me. Bitch, I'm a ball, can't talk in Milwaukee. Tell my dog sick of me, ain't do no barking. Pass me some greens, you know I'ma spark it. Mama got ass, told her to arch it. Pull up at the spot, hop out and don't park it. Bino say, always keep one in the cartridge. With Joey up pepper, so we going toxic. Came from the swamp to visit the tropics. Check out the scenery. Tell lil' mama to the backwoods right by the lake.
Oh, man. I can tell you right now, there are a lot of things that are heating up as far as deals right now. 15% off on the Spotlight Sports gear, hats, hoodies, t-shirts, and so much more that you can shop for right now at the Spotlight Sports gear. So shop right now and represent your favorite network and, of course, all of your favorite shows on the network at the one place that's got you covered, and that is on the spotlightsportsgear.com. Great to have you guys back here with me on the Snake Sports Talk show. So as I've said before, I've got a really, really good guest that you can check out here on the Spotlight Sports Network as he covers the San Francisco 49ers and the San Antonio Spurs. Definitely some interesting stuff brewing up in the Bay Area, and he is joining me currently live via the Global Satellite Network, presented by StreamYard. Tay-Rock Hopkins. So this is interesting to me because I'm hearing a lot of different news surrounding Jimmy Garoppolo and Trey Lance. Now people are saying and it's interesting because knowing San Francisco, they traded up picks to go and get number 3 overall to get Trey Lance, and they think he's going to be the future of the Niners. Now people are saying he's not quite ready for that. And it's hard to say with Jimmy Garoppolo knowing he's getting a lot of interest. What right now is your thoughts on the Jimmy Garoppolo, Trey Lance thing currently? And are they going to stick with Jimmy or are they going to move him on? What seems to be brewing up right now for the 49ers?
Well, thanks for having me on your show, Jake. I appreciate you being on here. You know, you my guy. I know you was away for a minute. Glad to have you back. That's first. I want to definitely say shout out for that. We missed you, but it's a lot of talks. They don't know we want to keep Jimmy now because it's talks that we possibly keep Jimmy. It all depends what the weapons we might bring in for the defense or the offense. It's talks about Tom Brady might unretire and play for his hometown team. Then we got talks of Aaron Rodgers. Nobody really knows at the moment. We won't really know till certain people make decisions. So so once we basically address the offensive line, you know, Trent, he still has injuries and different things like that. So we get that line a little younger. I feel like Trey Lance need maybe one more year to really study, to really get down all the mechanics. So when he steps in, he'll be already comfortable, prepared. He won't be making those rookie mistakes but you still throw him in games to give him that experiment. You don't just leave him on the sideline because he's definitely a weapon you can use, especially for the red zone. Maybe a play action. Maybe a play action fake pass to the outside because Garoppolo not really a mobile quarterback, but he can move around the pocket. But Trey Lance is a little further. But definitely more, I could say they just gotta make a decision, because if they don't make a decision, I think Jimmy is just gonna stay, because even if he does stay, they still got a little bit of cap room. But hold on, I'm gonna close my door because it's the music in the background. I want nobody tripping.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, I truly think right now, with just the way that the whole scenario and the situation in San Francisco is, it's so interesting because, you know, the Niners were in a Super Bowl earlier on, and it was a really, really great defensive team. The other part of it was Deebo Samuel started to come out as one of the best, and I truly think he's one of the best wide receivers currently in the league. The other part is, you know, now things started to change up. There was some mutual thoughts about Jimmy Garoppolo, whether he's healthy or he's trustworthy. But what's so funny about this, and you got to think, people shut the door on Kyle Shanahan so early, and then all of a sudden they got healthy at the right time. They make the playoffs, and they made it all the way to the NFC Championship, which nobody could have predicted the outcome. But is that more of just trusting the process with San Francisco? Because honestly, a lot of people can refer to it is Jimmy G, when he's the quarterback under Kyle Shanahan, it's a really good record. And then outside of all the other quarterbacks, it's not so good. So is that just trusting the process, knowing San Francisco can work this thing out? What's your opinion on it?
People always discredit Jimmy G. I looked up some stats. I was on another show. His winning percentage is 704. That's the same as Peyton Manning's. And Peyton Manning is the Hall of Fame quarterback.
Mhm.
He's like 26 and maybe 8 or 9 as a starter. This man has almost went to the Super Bowl twice within 4 years. He just don't get his credit because he don't put up the numbers like the elite quarterbacks, but he's a great game manager. You don't need to throw for 400 or 500 yards a game. But what we need to do is get that running game back because you don't want to put all that pressure because you don't want Jimmy throwing for 35, 40 pass attempts. You don't want that because sometimes Jimmy, when he throws that much, he makes the mistakes at the wrong time of the game. You want Jimmy at that 20-25. 20-25 is perfect for him. Plus, when you got the I don't know what you want to call him, a back wide receiver with Debo Samuel because he's in the backfield, then he's wide receiver, then he's returning punts. Next, man, he throwing passes now, so he's basically doing everything. But I feel like Trey Lance is really going to have to step up his game to make Garoppolo get better with the deep ball because Trey Lance deep ball is immaculate. And I've been watching film on that because I've been actually watching some of their practices where I'm in another group where they go live with practices because some people out there be in the Bay where I was watching practice. And that kid, he's actually pretty good. He just got to get down some of the mechanics with his feet work and how he swings hips certain ways and look at different defenses. But for the most part, I feel like even if they keep Garoppolo, I feel like they still have a good chance of going to the Super Bowl as long as everybody can stay healthy. Plus, with that process, everybody counted the 49ers out. I even had doubts myself. I'm not even going to lie. I'm sitting up here like, this is not 49er football. Like, we could play better than this. We started off 2-0, then we lost 3 straight. Then we got that mojo back and started winning games. We lost a game, but we started I felt like once we got to the play, once we beat the Rams, and I felt like we got in the playoffs, I felt like we had a shot to go to the Super Bowl. Because once you get in the playoffs, it's anybody's game now. Anybody. It doesn't matter about records. We beat Dallas. We beat Green Bay. Okay, it's hard to beat a team 3 times.
Very true.
Hard. And it was in their home. It was hard to beat them. We almost beat them again. Almost beat them, but I felt like we was gassed by that time because we had to travel. We had to travel to LA.
Mm-hmm.
Then we had to travel to Dallas. Then we had to travel to Green Bay. Then we had to travel back to LA. So that kind of like that going back and forth kind of probably like brought us down a little bit because we had so much traveling and we didn't have a home game. Like say if we had a home game and then just had to go over to LA, we probably would have had a little bit more energy. You could tell by the end of the game we was kind of gassed, even though we tried to put it all in there. Shout out to the Rams. I'm still glad that the championship is in the NFC West, the best division in football. But I think Kyle Shanahan is doing a very great job. Sometimes my only problem with Kyle Shanahan is when we have a lead, he takes his foot off the net. I don't like that. You got to keep scoring because this day and age in the league, you can never be too sure. Look at Joe Burrow. He got sacked 9 times and made his Super Bowl. So you can never be too sure until that clock says 0-0-0. So you have to keep putting points on the board. I don't care if it's 3 or we up 3. We get the ball back, kick it again, go up 6, so it make them have to score a touchdown. We got to put the pressure on the other team so we could keep going. But we had a great season. I just feel like next season we just don't fall short too fast. So where we got to play just to get inside the playoffs.
Right.
I want to we can solidify a spot inside the playoffs. And whoever our quarterback be, I just hope our quarterback is ready for that type of moment because whoever we get in the draft or whoever we get in free agency, we're going to have to be ready because the Rams are going to try to run this back, and we play them twice a year.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I hope Aaron Donald retires, like you said, because that'd take a little pressure off of Aaron Donald. But I doubt it. I think he's gonna probably try to get another one. But it's all about the faithful. I'm just waiting for this season to come up. I know I ain't gonna really get into my Spurs, but it's all about the Niners right now.
Yeah. No, and and I could tell you, Tay-Rock joining me here on the Snake Sports Talk Show, it really is interesting and unique of a situation with the 49ers and what they've been able to accomplish very, very well. And they're going into a year now, like as I just described about it with the Seattle Seahawks and the Russell Wilson thing, my thing is Russ is going to do the right thing by playing off his final year, make it a finale for Seattle, and then go and take his money elsewhere. So, San Francisco's got a lot of things they have to think about within their division. You got the Rams, who's fresh off a Super Bowl, and they got Stafford. You got Seattle and the Russell Wilson thing, and even Pete Carroll. And then you got the Cardinals right now with the scenario with Kyler Murray and whatever is going to happen with that. So do you feel like this could be the scenario if you're San Francisco, knowing what your season's going to go into? Is that something where they know right off the bat they got to feel like they have to take advantage of it? And where exactly will they do it? Free agency or maybe possibly in the draft?
I feel like they got to do it in both. I feel like we got to definitely step up where our cornerbacks. If we have an opportunity to get Gilmore, I say green lighted, because you're not going to find too many shutdown corners in this league right now. You have a few, but if Gilmore's on the table for the right price and it makes sense, I would get him. I'm saying, so that help us in the back end, because even though Karan Williams got the interception and that was the one game, sometimes he gets burnt a lot, and that kind of hurts us where we playing a certain type of defense and where he can't stay with his man. Okay, for speaking for the Bengals, when we played the Bengals, the reason why we beat the Bengals is because we played Jamar Chase high and low when nobody else could get open. T. Higgins was getting covered. Tyler Boyd was getting covered. So basically, they was playing one-on-one. We played Karan Williams played back, and we had our safety, I'm saying, play up a little close. So Jamar Chase only had to get in the middle. He would have to get anything else off of yards off a catch. So we have a nice scheme. And D'Amico Ryans stepped up his defense the second half of the season. A lot of people didn't talk about that.
He did, yeah.
Up his defense very well. They played. They were playing, but I feel like we definitely have to get, if we got opportunities to get some key players and we have the cap room for it. That was one of the issues about keeping Garoppolo or trading him, because if we trade him, that open up more cap money for us. But if we don't, we still have okay money, because we can't re-sign everybody back. That's just how it is sometimes. Like we keep our key players like Debo, Bosa, Ayuk, you know what I'm saying, Trent, the guys on the defense and the offense, special teams that make things happen for the most part. So we got to make sure them guys are signed and paid. Once we get that out the way, we can fill in everything else that needs to be there. But I feel like in the draft, we should definitely go offensive line, or even get some not a young guy in the offensive line, but somebody that's very good up in the offensive line that's already in the league.
Yeah,
because he can't. Look, everybody ain't Joe Staley. You can't play as long as him. Everybody ain't him. So you have to keep that line young, just in case we do keep Garoppolo, so he doesn't get hit, so he doesn't have to be out of the season for 4 or 5 games. Because I feel like if Garoppolo could play at least 7 straight games, I feel like we'd be in great position. If he gets for 2 and then Trey Lance come in and go win us a game or 2, and then we still in great position for running the playoffs when Garoppolo come back. But who knows? I feel like this. And it might be a bold statement. I feel like if Aaron Rodgers was to come to San Francisco, it has to be championship or bust.
I agree.
It would have, because I feel like he's going to get scrutinized if he does, because they're going to look at it like how Kevin Durant did his. If you can't beat him, he's 0-4 against the 49ers. Okay. It all depends, but it all depends what Adams going to do. If Adams stays, if he goes, because speculations that Adams might go to the Bears. Who knows? Who knows what's really going to happen? But listen, if a package deal came with Adams and Rodgers, I would give up Ayuk and Garoppolo. I would give them both up. Rodgers and Adams. Who wouldn't give that up? We probably have to give up like a couple picks or maybe somebody on the defense or something too. But who wouldn't take that deal? You getting a guy, two teammates that already got chemistry. Boom. Yep. Only got really, and you got Debo Samuel and Kittle. Aaron Rodgers never really had a special tight end like Kittle, like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like that. And plus, he had a little run game in Green Bay, but he had that type of special run game in San Francisco. Just speculations. You know what I'm saying? Can't really say anything's guaranteed. Just that team of that 49ers to be scary. Like, we would be really scary if Aaron Rodgers was back there. Now, on the other hand, with Tom Brady, I would feel like we still got a shot, but he's not as mobile as Aaron Rodgers is. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know.
Right.
You probably have to structure the deep because the structure of the offense may be a little bit more around Tom Brady. Because Debo is perfect for that type of offense because Wes Welker was his wide receiver coach.
Right.
So a lot of them saying, even though I'm mad he left and went to Miami, it seemed like every time the 49ers have a great season, all these coaches get all these jobs. I feel like if they and grind through it, we'll probably would have won a Super Bowl if they would have stayed and went. But good coaches, good players, they get the reward of doing things that they want to do. So I just look at it in the draft. We either got to go. We still got to go young in corners, maybe a safety, but we definitely got to hit the O line because our D line we pretty straight there. I know we're gonna give up D forward, so that's gonna open up cap room right there. We probably give up Alshire here. We probably give him up, even though I really don't want to. But it seems like his arm never really heals like that. He always got to play with a cast on. So we want longevity from now on. We need to get a little younger. We got a lot. We got a lot of mid-age players coming into their prime. We got some players going in the middle of their prime. We got some players going out their prime. So the players that's really going out their prime that can't produce, we got to replace that because each year the league is getting younger and younger and younger. So we got to keep up with that. So
yeah, it's very, very true. And, and when you look at San Francisco, because it's such a unique situation and where they are, and especially with the rest of the teams in the NFC, I mean, I do feel that mutual feeling about Tom Brady because the fact of you're already dealing with a pocket presence quarterback in Jimmy Garoppolo anyway. So it's not to say that an offensive line like what San Francisco has could possibly give him better coverage in order for him to make the throws. Yeah. I just think with what I've seen with this offense, it's built for speed. And I think when you look at Debo, when you look at Brandon Ayuk, when you even look at the running backs from Elijah Mitchell, now the unfortunate part was once Raheem Mostert, and he'll be a free agent this year, you started seeing some spurts of speed there. But I think with Mitchell and also with Trey Sermon, it could be very, very different on the run game. And then there's George Kittle who could block, catch, and even, acclimate to the speed. So it seems like any of the quarterbacks that come into this offense knows Kyle Shanahan's going to be a guy to work the playbook. He's going to be somebody that's going to want to make those right decisions to make the offense a lot better, probably score up maybe more than 25 points a game. And even if you have Aaron Rodgers, the question is, could he trust every single position that's there? I think what's the hard part is what separates him and Jimmy G. Jimmy Garoppolo can trust everybody. I mean, you could tell from the locker room, everybody loves him. Everybody loves his presence there. But with Aaron, it just kind of seems like he's more in it for himself, and there's just so much that speculation. So, the one thing I want to get into is obviously with Trey Lance. Like you mentioned earlier about his arm strength, and I looked at him and his highlights in college at North Dakota State. And I think he's a really good type of quarterback that's got a very good arm. He's got very good accuracy, and he's somebody that can scramble out of the pocket when in danger. Yeah. But, it's very hard to predict because knowing you took a year off of college, you still came out as one of the top 5 best draft picks. And now the speculation is, do you trust your future of your franchise in his hands? And because my thing is this, he could either work well with this offense immediately, like how we looked at Patrick Mahomes, like how we looked at Josh Allen and Justin Herbert and a lot of these young quarterbacks, or they could be in a rocky situation where Trey Lance will have to find a way to figure it out before people have these speculations of, well, he's just not quite that ready. Like, if you're in that position, if you're Trey Lance, what do you think you got to be thinking about if you're hearing this offense by next year, if the possibility and the outcome is Jimmy Garoppolo's gone, you get draft picks, and now you got to take full reins of this offense?
Well, if I was Trey Lance, I would do everything in my power to get ready for the regular season. I would work on all mechanics, accuracy, the best of my ability. That's the only thing he could do. He just got to keep working, keep grinding, keep until he feel as though he's that confident where he could go in the game and win all 4 quarters. No game is going to be easy. No, you're in the NFL, so you're going to have slugfests. It's not like college where you were just going 36-0, throwing all these touchdowns for no interceptions. No, you're playing against the best people in the world. This is different.
That's right.
I just need to see. And my brother will tell you, I'm a prove it to me type of person. Don't just talk. I want to see you do it. Like that's why I wasn't too high on Bosa when he got drafted. I want to see you do it because all he really did at Ohio State was really be hurt. So I wanted to see. He proved it to me. I don't have nothing to say now. So I feel like Trey Lance just got to keep working. I have faith in him though. I believe in Kyle Shanahan. I feel like they wouldn't have drafted him for no reason. I feel like it was just the pick that they wanted. I feel like they got faith in the kid. I have faith in the kid. I believe all the 49ers faithful have faith in the kid. We have some doubters, but he can shut up all the doubters with his play. That's all he has to do. He just had to keep growing because everybody's just not going to come in the game and just going to be just throwing touchdowns. Some quarterbacks going to struggle. Some quarterbacks it takes some time to come in. Josh Allen first year was okay, but as he grew, it got better. So with Ryan Tannehill, it got better. He got more weapons around. He might be one of those guys, but it could be one of those guys that might turn into a Patrick Mahomes or Aaron Rodgers one day because he has the arm, he has the talent. He just has to get in those situations where he has that experience, so he'll understand what to do in those certain. So you could do that in practice all day, but it's nothing like the game.
Yeah.
The practice in the game is different. When you're in that game and it's 1 minute on the clock and you got to go 50 yards to win the game, do you have that mentality to make those smart decisions and not force the ball into tight situations when you don't have to?
Yeah, that's true.
That's going to be the question. Can he do that in those moments? So I think they definitely going to try him out again in the preseason, probably make him play the majority of the preseason just to make sure they got what they drafted, they got what they wanted. So we're all going to see when it basically, like I said, he just wants to keep grinding, keep working hard, and to the point where the team is convinced. George Kittle said good things about him. Deebo Samuel saying good things about him. So far he's winning. He's winning the team. So if Garoppolo's there or not, they still liking the kid. So far he's doing good with his teammates.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And that's always the best thing that you got to have if you're an up and coming quarterback, because again, it's not that easy when you look around the rest of the league. It is not that easy to to replace quarterbacks. I mean, you look at Indianapolis' situation and they're already done with Carson Wentz. I think it's a ridiculous thought. The other part is, Pittsburgh, I'm going to talk a little bit about this, but Pittsburgh wants to rely on Mason Rudolph after everything with Ben Roethlisberger. I don't really like the situation, but it's just like you look around the league, it's not that easy to replace quarterbacks. It's not like, you're replacing diapers. So it's like you kind of have to very much be careful what happens in these scenarios. So it'll be interesting to see how San Francisco does by next year, but I have some high hopes. So my last question before I let go, it's hard to say because now with everything speculating, in your gut feeling, and right now with where San Francisco stands, because I think they do have a lot of pieces. I think they can upgrade a few pieces to make a strong run to possibly being Super Bowl champions. But who would you know by the time week 1 comes around the corner, who your starting quarterback would be for the San Francisco 49ers?
I won't. My gut feeling right now, I'm not too sure because I don't know if we're gonna make a trade. I won't know nothing until whatever Garoppolo does. Because we can't really right now. I can't really call it. Don't get me wrong. I would be mad if we kept Garoppolo. That's what I'm saying. I wouldn't even be mad. Like, okay, boom, we just get back into the season, get back into our normal selves. If it's Trey Lance, I'm gonna be like, okay, let's see what this kid can do. You get Aaron Rodgers, it got to be Super Bowl or bust. You know what I'm saying? Then part, yeah, I'm not too sure right now. I won't really know nothing until somebody makes a decision. Then I will fully know for sure.
Well, it's definitely fair. It's definitely a fair point. It's definitely a lot to really speculate. But like I said, nobody better that could cover up the team other than yourself. And so I just love getting these kinds of speculations and aspects of what we may see for next year. But always good talking with you, Tay-Rock. And as we mentioned before, Tay-Rock Hopkins, you can check him out on the Spotlight Sports Network when we've got Tay-Rock talking sports, talks 49ers, talks the Spurs. Love having you on, my friend. And it's so good to be back, already a full week back on the network. It's been great to talking with you, man, and can't wait to see what next year will be. But hopefully we'll definitely do this again very, very soon. Good talking with you. Have a great one, and we'll definitely talk with you soon.
All right, thanks.
Not a problem. Yeah, and he does bring a lot of really good points, because again, San Francisco just has such a unique situation on their hands. Like again, it could be anything. I mean, Kyle Shanahan knows he has a really good record with Jimmy Garoppolo. Everyone knows that. And out of all the other quarterbacks that he's had in the past, I mean, Brian Hoyer, CJ Beathard, Nick Mullins, lots of other different quarterbacks not named Jimmy Garoppolo, the record definitely shows for itself. So there's a trust, there's a little bit of a movement, but I think personally, I mean, if you look at San Francisco, they got so many things to think about. And a lot of people love teams that already have exactly the weapons. They've already got a healthy offensive line, and they got a trustworthy defense. And I love what he said about D'Amico Ryans, because as a former player and somebody that worked along with the defense, because I was very skeptical how that was going to work without Robert Saleh there. That made it a very, very good defense. He really, really improved later in the season. So I really did love the fact that the defense got better. It got healthier. Gosh, a lot of really, really, really good stuff. All right, coming up next here, we're going to be talking a little bit more about the Mason Rudolph and Pittsburgh situation, because I just don't think it's a scenario Pittsburgh would really be smart on. But really, very, very quickly, I wanted to make a quick shout out to our very good friend here, Beantown Breakdown, as he says it before. Those that do know and those that don't know, my really, really good friend, Bobby Montagna, very great guy out in Boston, out on the East Coast. Definitely sending my strongest thoughts and prayers to him. Great to hear that he's officially cleared and is ready to start his leukemia treatment. So what ended up happening, got hit with COVID, definitely ended up feeling up worse. And then more news ended up coming up that he ended up having leukemia. But we are all there by his side, definitely supporting him. Bobby, you're a fighter, man. And I'm hoping and praying that you definitely get past all of this. I know he will. But it's so good to be seeing him, and so good to be knowing he's tuned in up onto the show. I love the positive thoughts, man, but we're definitely with you. Hopes and thoughts and prayers to you. And we're definitely fighting along with you through this time with the leukemia treatment. Very much, like I said, he's such a great guy. Covers all Boston, Patriots, Red Sox, Celtics, and the Boston Bruins. Great guy. I was supposed to be seeing him all up in March, but like I said, we're all with him. We're all fighting there with him, and we'll definitely see him to the very end of this. So we're thinking of you, Bobby. Absolutely. All righty, guys. Like I said before, we've got plenty of deals all the way through, and it's 15% off right now when you go to the spotlightsportsgear.com. Hats, hoodies, t-shirts, accessories, and so much more that you could shop for to end up getting yourselves geared up for your favorite network and your favorite shows on the network at the one place, spotlightsportsgear.com. 15% off. Take advantage of the price while it lasts. Lots of great stuff. Rep it and send us in your videos and send us in your pictures. We'd love to post it up and give you guys big time shout outs. And thank you all so much for your support on the Spotlight Sports Network. So that's spotlightsportsgear.com, 15% off. Don't miss it.
Pressure. Some on this gas get hectic. I put my bitch in the best shit. Wanna act goofy, stretch quick. Pressure. Some on this gas get hectic. I put my bitch in the best shit. Wanna act goofy, stretch quick.
All right. Glad to have you guys all back up here at the Snake Sports Talk Show. Had a great interview with Tay-Rock over at Tay-Rock Talking Sports. And we got so much more that we got to end up playing into. So, I was really thinking about this earlier. And, Pittsburgh right now, there's a lot of teams, as I mentioned before, that's got quarterback scenarios. Seattle, as you mentioned, I think Russ is going to end up playing his final year in Seattle, respectfully so, before he ends up going elsewhere. I mentioned on Monday about the Carson Wentz situation. I think it's kind of dumb right now. It's just hilarious. Like the fact that Carson, 27 touchdowns, 7 picks, and he had a 63 completion percentage. I don't understand why Indianapolis would move on that quickly after just giving him a better O-line. The only thing they needed to work on was the wide receivers. So this is very interesting, but I ended up reading somewhere where one of the analysts that covers the Pittsburgh Steelers was basically talking more about their future quarterback scenarios now that Big Ben is officially retired. What's going on, Max Coverage? What's going on, Matt Lincoln? What's going on, Jason Thomas? Everybody all here. I could tell you one thing about Pittsburgh. They got a lot of things to really think about. And we'll be playing best for last here. Wentz in, Wentz out. Lots of things really to speculate about Carson Wentz and where he may go. But one place in particular, the Pittsburgh Steelers, they're settling on Mason Rudolph as their future quarterback. They feel like he's been the guy so far that has learned from Big Ben, that knows this offense, and that's what they're going to go with. If knowing Pittsburgh and their history, okay, they are such a prestigious franchise, 6 Super Bowls, and they've only rallied around 2 big-time quarterbacks in their history. There's been several other quarterbacks that I can think of is like the 2 you already know that are big-time Hall of Famers. You've got Terry Bradshaw and Ben Roethlisberger. Those are 2 Hall of Fame quarterbacks out of Pittsburgh's system that has worked. And you already know Ben with 2 Super Bowls and Terry with a bunch more. The other couple that you've seen in the past, like O'Connell and Cordell Stewart. Now, granted, Cordell was a pretty decent quarterback, but was not one that was going to end up shaping for the future. I loved watching him play. The fact that he had speed, he had an arm, and was somebody that could, like, they called him Slash. Run, catch, pass, did literally everything, but was not going to be solely the future for the Pittsburgh Steelers. So they're going to need to upgrade a quarterback. And the only thing that I can think of, you already know about the San Francisco and Jimmy Garoppolo situation, but if it did come down to it, if I'm Pittsburgh and I need a mature quarterback that can work with this offense, because let me just tell you, this offense is built to compete in their division in the North. They're not going to leave it into the hands of Cleveland with Baker Mayfield that they already have a lot of speculations with. But they've got a very good O-line. They trust their run, and they've got a very good defense that can pass rush and can cover. Then you've got Baltimore with Lamar Jackson, and you know what he's capable of. Mark Andrews, lots of really good pieces there, and John Harbaugh, who's been there. And then just representing in the Super Bowl, the Cincinnati Bengals. Joe Burrow's looking a lot better than some of the quarterbacks in this division. And I don't think Pittsburgh should really be in a position to end up settling for a quarterback that's kind of, I mean, have you seen the last few times Mason Rudolph played? It's a reason why he's a backup. He's a guy that can win you games, but he's not going to win you all the big games. And think about it. We speculate a lot of different quarterbacks in this league in the last couple of years before Josh Allen happened, before Lamar Jackson happened, before Patrick Mahomes happened, then Kyler Murray, and then came Justin Herbert. Now you got so many different young quarterbacks all throughout it. Pittsburgh is never an organization that I feel like should settle. That would be the last thing on their minds. And knowing the Rooney family, very prestigious, they know their role. And Pittsburgh's a big town. It's big on football. The last thing they want to do is have an average quarterback that can deal with a really, really good offense with Pat Freiermuth, and then you've got Chase Claypool and having Deontay Johnson. I mean, and Najee Harris was really, really good. The offensive line could use some help, and then at times you could beef up the defense. But Pittsburgh should never be in a position to end up settling who their quarterback is, no matter what the scenario may be or how long he's really been there. But from what I've been told so far, Jason, they're saying they're sticking with him, but I would really reconsider it otherwise. I mean, Mike Tomlin is a hell of a coach, player personnel, and is somebody that hasn't even lost a season. They've had a lot of winning seasons, and they just made the playoffs. So I just feel like the speculation about Mason Rudolph is just flat out bad. Like, if I'm Pittsburgh today, I would be inquiring about Jimmy Garoppolo. I'd be inquiring about Carson Wentz and a bunch of other quarterbacks that you know right now on this market. I would be making moves. But here's the other thing that I think of. If you bring Jimmy Garoppolo in, and my guess is they're going to go and draft that Kenny Pickett kid out of Pittsburgh, because knowing Kenny Pickett, he's safe back at home, and he's a guy that knows Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh is a tough town. Like, all of PA, whether you're in Pittsburgh or you're in Philadelphia, it's a hard town. And the other part is he's comfortable at home, knows the weather, and at the same time, I feel like Steeler fans would love to see what he can do. And I think he's a really, really good kid. This draft class is not even that heavy like it was in the last 2 seasons. It's not. That's why I think if you get yourself a veteran quarterback, maybe a Jimmy Garoppolo or so that can run this type of offense. The other part is, like, you never know what you're going to get out of the draft. That's how bad it is. So I feel like you get Jimmy Garoppolo, get a grown-up that knows exactly what he's doing with this offense, work it a little bit more, and say you draft Kenny Pickett, and then he works under this offense, knows exactly what he needs to do. I think that would be the perfect move for Pittsburgh. I truly think it would be. And I don't think they would be in a position where they struggle sending away draft picks. I don't think so. You already got a lot of young kids. You already have something building up. Why would you settle for less? Like, that's the real thing. Because you'll have Chase Claypool, at least for the next couple of years. Juju Smith-Schuster, I'm sure, might end up testing the market, but who knows? Deontay Johnson, really good wide receiver. Pat Freiermuth, really good. Then there's Najee Harris and the offensive line. And the defense is not going to change anytime soon when you know it thrives under TJ Watt and the rest of that defense. And they weren't afraid to give away draft picks. That's why they ended up going and getting Minkah Fitzpatrick. Because you look at that AFC North, you know for a fact Pittsburgh is not going to lose that division. They don't want to lose that division. If you got Cleveland and you got Cincinnati and you've got Baltimore running that defense or running that entire division, that's not good. That's not a good taste, and that's not a good look if you're Pittsburgh. So I would strongly reconsider that thought. I mean, I like Mason Rudolph, but I don't like him enough to end up trusting being the quarterback of my franchise for the next couple of years, honestly. All right. I appreciate everybody who came on here today. We had a great interview with Tay-Rock. So my best for last here, I'm going to end up predicting a little bit of Carson Wentz. And I do think there are several options that I look at with Carson Wentz's situation in the Colts. And there's a bunch that I could literally look at from here. And I think it's understandable because again, I don't know what the Colts are doing. Like, I really, really don't know why. I feel like it was a Jim Irsay thing, if you really, really want to be honest. But I think the Colts right now, and it's been confirmed that they don't want to keep him. So I'm going to play a little bit of Wentz in and Wentz out. So there are a couple of teams that I have listed up from here, and we're going to basically predict them. So, all right. So Wentz in, Wentz out. So my first team that we got here, the Washington Commanders. I'm going to possibly say Wentz in. The reason I say that I think Carson Wentz would definitely work with Washington. Now, I don't think it's a possibility Carson Wentz will be there, but you got to think about it. Cam Sims, Terry McLaurin, Antonio Gibson, and J.D. McKissick, like that could be an offense that could run in it. But here's the other thing. Carson will be back in the NFC East, and he'll be facing against his former team, the Philadelphia Eagles, twice a year. And it's a pretty interesting speculation. But the other part is Ron Rivera could very much work a lot on his capabilities. And again, 27 touchdowns, 7 picks. Carson Wentz is probably more than I would think any of these quarterbacks on this market outside of Jimmy Garoppolo that you could trust that's capable of running this type of offense. I really do. So I think if I'm Washington, that could definitely work. So I would say Wentz in. Las Vegas Raiders, I'm going to go with Wentz out. Wentz out. Because honestly, the Raiders right now, the problem is not quarterback. It's not Derek Carr. I think Carr is their franchise quarterback. He's a guy that the organization trusts. And they went through a lot. They lost Damon Arnett. They lost Henry Ruggs. They were close to very much losing Nate Hobbs. And if they don't get most of these players straightened out, it's going to be worse. But the other part is that you got to think about. They came in at a time when John Gruden and all this stuff started to surface up and he gets fired. In comes Rick Bisaccia and gives them fuel to make it into the playoffs. The offense, I think, really, really thrived. And for the record, Derek Carr, very efficient quarterback, not that bad of a year he had this past year. The Raiders, I think, are going to invest more. I don't think they really should be on the verge of getting a quarterback. Not right now. But I would not give up on Derek Carr, and I don't think that this really works out with Carson Wentz as their quarterback. The Pittsburgh Steelers, I'm going to say Wentz in. As I've mentioned before, Carson Wentz, he's been in the league. Much better arm and better accuracy than Mason Rudolph, in my opinion. And you've got Chase Claypool, Deontay Johnson, Najee Harris, and Pat Freiermuth that I think really work with this offense. The only thing that Pittsburgh would need to do is work a little on the offensive line and get some really good defensive pieces. But I don't think this is bad at all. And by the way, Mike Tomlin is a player type coach. Loves his players. And is somebody that if you could work a little bit out on Carson Wentz, because a lot of people can think he's very reckless. He's a guy that doesn't really work a whole lot on the offense, but I think he would work in any particular position. And I think with all the weapons, Carson would definitely love it. It's a lot better of a situation than Indianapolis, if you really want my opinion. Much better. He's got a defense. He's got an offense. I think that could work for it. And honestly, it would be a better clean slate for Carson moving forward. The New York Giants, I'm going to say Wentz out. It's clear that the Giants want to stick with Daniel Jones. You know, and they're hoping Brian Dable will fix this thing because they got Kenny Golladay, Saquon Barkley. I don't know what's going to be on as far as if he stays or he goes. The other part is you've got an interesting offense with Evan Ingram. I do like Kadarius Toney, but you got to insert him at so many different points. And I feel like this is a mess. That's one NFC East team. Like, I could deal with the Commanders, honestly. If I'm Carson, I could deal with Washington, but I think New York is just right now, they got to fix their mess. Denver Broncos, very much Wentz in. Right now, they do not have the type of quarterback that they know that can work around with this offense, even though they tried it with Teddy Bridgewater, and I feel so bad at the scenario. But I think Teddy Bridgewater would be better elsewhere. But the other part is you got Drew Lock, that's not really a trustworthy quarterback. So having Carson there, you can work with the offensive line, and you've got Jerry Jeudy, you've got Cortland Sutton, you've got KJ Hamler, you've got Melvin Gordon, and Javonte Williams, and you've got Noah Fant. So there's a lot of options, and there's a better defense because that secondary is a very good shutdown secondary. I think it's a lot better. So I would definitely say Wentz in for Denver. San Francisco 49ers, I'm going to go with Wentz out because right now they could be in a position where they could keep Jimmy Garoppolo or they could prepare their future for Trey Lance. I don't see this being a scenario or situation San Francisco would want to take on because of the cap. So, and believe me, I think it still would be a better situation because of the offensive line. But I think they're a little bit built up more for speed. And I don't know with as far as where Carson Wentz stands, how he is with his health, but I just think right now with the cap, I don't think it would be right. I'd go Wentz out. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I'm going Wentz out on this one. I mean, even though it's a nice thought because maybe they can work a little bit of wiggle room But you got to think about it. Chris Godwin is a free agent, and their tight end room, they'll have Cameron Brate, but we haven't really seen a whole lot of spurts. And then there's also O.J. Howard. I don't know how that really works out, but Bruce Arians is a risk it, no biscuit guy. You know, that's really how he works around. So I feel like having Carson, it feels like there's going to be a ton of mistakes that are going to be made. And knowing with where he stands on the offense, I don't know. I don't know how I would feel about this one. And then finally, the Indianapolis Colts. Seriously, Jim Irsay. I would still say Wentz in. You all are telling me Wentz out right now, with just because of where the offense was really flowing. Again, Carson Wentz was not the problem with why the Indianapolis Colts ended up losing their chances into the playoffs. They were not. You had a capable running back with Jonathan Taylor. You had Nyheim Hines, who was a secondary option. The other part is there was no number one wide receiver next to Michael Pittman. T.Y. Hilton, injury prone. I think he's going to end up retiring. Zach Pascal and Paris Campbell, they both disappeared. And then Jack Doyle in the tight end room. It's not great. If you're the Colts right now, the last thing I would want to do is give up on a quarterback that you know is giving you the numbers just because of the fluke game against Jacksonville does not mean they're that far away. I mean, look at the Chargers. Just because the Chargers played hard does not mean that they're particularly ready for the play. Because, again, they were dealing with their own mistakes. But they're very, very bound, and they've got a better cap situation than I think the Colts do. But I wouldn't give up on Carson Wentz. Not one bit. I would feel like you got to go and get yourself a wide receiver. You got to get yourself a tight end. And let's be honest here. Because of Pat Freiermuth thriving in Pittsburgh, why not go and get Eric Ebron, who very much was a healthy tight end, worked better in this Indianapolis offense anyway, so it helps with the tight end room. You can keep Jack Doyle as just, a nice complimentary piece, and then go and get yourself a real good wide receiver that works in this scenario. But I wouldn't give up on Carson. So Wentz in, Wentz out. It's so much fun when I end up doing stuff like this, really. And again, this Carson Wentz situation is just so mind-boggling, but it's hilarious. And I really, to the extent, I don't like the scenario with where it's sitting at. And I don't really know what the whole case scenario really is or how this is even going to work out, but I wouldn't give up on Carson at all. Like, you could tell me all about Carson all you want, and the last thing I want to hear is more of this, the Nick Foles thing. I'm over it. He's not there anymore. Stop bringing it up. Stop bringing up old habits. Because, again, I think the one thing that the last thing you want to do, because, again, if he thrives in Pittsburgh, that's a better scenario. If he thrives in Denver, better scenario. I mean, he could thrive anywhere else, but the last thing you would really want to be doing is poking the bear to the point of maybe Carson was not the problem in Philadelphia. In Philadelphia right now, like the Russell Wilson to Philadelphia thing, not realistic. Not realistic at all. But alrighty, guys, thank you so much for tuning in and joining me at the Snake Sports Talk Show. These are all the links here that you can find me at to follow, like, subscribe, and hit the bell button for all latest notifications all around. And we're also live on iHeartRadio, so you can definitely go and watch a few segments on the Spotlight Sports Network. We really do appreciate you guys. God, what a week it was. Getting back to the grind of things, I really loved it. I'm so happy to be back, and it's going to be another really, really good week. But my ultimate goal, as I've said to a lot of people, is I hope that, we get more interviews involved and we get a lot more opportunities to start doing more events. I'll definitely try to be at least a little bit more proactive on social media to at least get the words out. Like I said, I do apologize from the past, but it's going to be different. It's going to be very different. And I really do appreciate every one of your guys' love and support. And for the week back, I'm very excited. I can't wait to see you guys again on Monday at the same times. So definitely tune back in, like, subscribe, hit the bell button, and share with your friends, share with your family, get the word out, and follow up on the one that's a fan favorite on the Spotlight Sports Network, and that is the Snake Sports Talk Show. It's so good to be back. Have a great day. Have a great Friday, a great weekend ahead, and we will see you guys all up on Monday. Take care, you guys. As I said, I'm back, and it's so good to be back. Take care.
Live from Las Vegas, the Snake Sports Talk Show with Jake Silva starts right now.